It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 377. Tonight I'm joined by Emo.
Hello.
Ashgar. Grace.
Heya.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
So I'm going to kind of recount a moment that just literally happened because it's kind of funny. For the life of me, I could not remember the intro. And it's not that I couldn't remember it. It's just that like it sounded weird in my head. And thankfully, everyone who can memorize or can say it, wrote like Kodra, reminded me that, yes, I do say the word episode.
Yup.
But for whatever reason, episode sounded weird in my head. I kind of want to start off this week with a bit of a retraction, and it's not so much a retraction, it's just that like more information has come out. And one of the topics that we closed out last week with is that it sounds like maybe the network code in Elden Ring is bad. So From Software has come out this week and said that they have paused all network play in the Dark Souls games because they're working on implementing the fix in Elden Ring before it launches. They have a fix. They know what's going on. Elden Ring will launch with updated code. And then after the launch of Elden Ring, since it is coming soon, and they're kind of busy with that, they will apply that code patch to all the other Dark Souls games and bring them back online. So their intent is they will not launch Elden Ring with an exploit.
Yay.
That's
So
good.
so yeah, like that seems reasonable to me. Like, yeah, I'm sure they're really busy right now doing last minute things before the launch of a big game. So it is perfectly reasonable that they're not going to get a patch out until after then. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there in case I had spooked anyone away from buying the PC version.
So Elden Ring should be safe to play.
Elden Ring should be safe to play.
Great.
I probably would have picked it up on the PlayStation 5 anyway, but like, who knows?
I mean, we should try and coordinate. Actually, is there crossplay?
I don't know if there's crossplay.
I was going to say, because I should figure out who all is playing this game, because I will want to play this
I don't know if I will or not. Like, it looks compelling, but also I tend to bounce off Souls games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mostly, I've never really gotten the full multiplayer experience, and I kind of want that with this one. So if anyone's interested, let me know.
It kind of sounds like the multiplayer experience will be something akin to the way it feels to play like Monster Hunter World with people.
See,
So awkwardly.
well, wait. People are saying that, but then I also say you're going to need to consume an item. And I'm like, that's just how all of these Dark Souls games multiplayer has worked.
Yeah.
And then it's like, do I have to pick and choose when I want to do this?
I think, so from what I had heard, basically, if you are the one hosting the game, we are doing the things you need to do. And if I am in your world, I am not getting progress in my world.
I mean, that is also true to other...
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like, it is not an uncommon peer-to-peer MMO-ish behavior.
I mean, it also matches the other Souls games.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. It matches the other Souls games.
I'm not going to go ahead and say, I'm not going to say that Souls games have the most inspiring multiplayer I've ever experienced.
No.
Which is fine. That's absolutely true.
I mean, I have found some multiplayer experiences fun, like
And they absolutely can be.
notably when a boss is not fun, frequently including some multiplayer can make that boss fun and also beatable. Looking at you the twin princes, but also none of those fights ever stood up to like two people being in the arena. Like even when you summoned like the NPC, it was a pretty good way of making that fight beatable, because just like, oh, when do the Sword Art Online thing where one player has aggro and is playing very defensively, and the player without aggro just gets to be aggressive. And most of those bosses cannot survive against aggression when they are not also like putting the person on the defensive. Kind of by design of how those bosses work.
Okay. Thank you, Kodra. Your earlier statement put Spin Doctor's Two Princes in my head, and then it was replaced by Faith No More's Be Aggressive.
Cool. I don't think I know either of those songs.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who got the Spin Doctor song in their head
Yeah.
for that.
You know Two
Same,
Princes
though.
even if you don't know the title of that song.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It is the only Spin Doctor song you might know.
I
But
mean,
like,
it's the most likely one. There's a couple others, but yeah,
I'm
that's
fine
the
with
one that was on
Faith
the
No
radio
More
everywhere.
replacing it, and I'm thankful that another earworm has entered.
My brain is too full of Encanto for any other earworms to make it in.
So we had a Nintendo Direct this week.
We did.
We did.
It was a really exciting one for once.
Yeah.
It was a very sizable one, like for a Nintendo Direct that really did not touch a lot of the big games that people had been waiting for.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for Kirby, so
Well,
we're here now.
okay, yeah. Yes, I mean, and the world loves Pink 4.
That's such a weird game.
That
Even
Kirby-
on the realm of Kirby games, that's such a weird thing.
I'm just waiting for somebody to make the new VLC icon. I know it has to be floating around out there somewhere, and I'll replace my VLC icon with it. Kirby does this thing where he wraps himself around objects and controls the objects, and there was one of the pictures was like Kirby over a traffic cone.
But can we just never speak of what this is called ever?
Yes.
Yes, there is a term for this.
I already said
Leave it
it.
at that.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So like the game I am most shocked that we are going to be getting is Live Alive.
I am also shocked at this.
That's like
Weird Japanese exclusive SNES era RPG redone with Octopath Traveler style graphics.
yeah.
Right. And like the reason why it took forever, even for a fan translation, to happen of this game is it's got a massive amount of text.
hmm
Because like there's a bunch of different characters and they all have really complicated paths and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, in general, this was a really good Nintendo Direct for fans of old games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Live Alive, we're getting the first two Earthbound games on. They're already on the Switch now.
Yep. I've started playing Mother 1.
Ooh. Have
It's-
you played the second one before?
I've played Earthbound, yes.
Okay, good.
Uh,
That's probably the better one to start with, in all honesty.
I mean, yeah, but
Yeah.
I've never played
yeah.
Mother 1, so it is also very wholesome that the game is like, especially early on, oh, you go out, you got beat up, maybe you should go home and talk to mom and she'll make you some delightful toast.
So yeah. So maybe we'll actually get Mother 3 someday.
Yeah, like this felt a little bit like trolling, I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
And
Yes.
Similarly, Chrono Cross is coming out on everything. Like it's going to be on the Switch. It's also going to be on like the PlayStation and the Xbox and I think PC. It's just
Yep.
because Square does that now, which again makes me like hold out hope that maybe someday we'll get another Chrono game.
The game that I
Maybe.
was shocked that Square didn't show off is the Pixel remasters for Switch. Like I was
That still hasn't
expecting
happened, has it?
No, I was expecting them
Yeah.
to give us a release date. I'm hoping by June there will be a version of Final Fantasy V on the Switch.
That
So
would be nice.
So is the problem that Square won't release a console exclusive game? Is that why I still can't play Super Mario RPG?
I'm starting to think that might be part of it. I don't know. Because give me a way to play Super Mario RPG again, legitimately, please. Damn it.
That does seem like a really weird omission.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, I'm guessing it's a combination of this is a Nintendo and Square thing, and they both have to agree on how this is going to work, and then
And-
it'll
and-
only be on the Switch. So
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
Square
yeah.
would really like it to not only be on the Switch.
Yeah.
I would really like to sell it on everything that can,
Run it.
everything that might play Doom.
Yeah, they discovered that PCs exist and said, "Oh, let's do this."
I mean, let's be fair. There will probably be Square, ports on the Intellivision Amiga if it actually releases.
Well, speaking of Chrono Cross, we're also getting a new Satellaview game.
That is so weird to me that that's finally coming out. Like it's been the stuff of fabled legend mostly.
Yeah.
The text-based adventure game that inspired Chrono Cross.
Yes, Radical Dreamers.
Radical Dreamers.
The one that's blowing my mind right now is No Man's Sky coming to the Switch. And after the other day, like it has been said that it is not a cloud version.
Yeah.
It is an actual port. And I'm like, how is that a thing?
For some reason they were able to figure out how to get No Man's Sky to not be a cloud version, but not Kingdom Hearts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I mean, Square doesn't want to put in the effort. That's what it sounds like.
Probably.
One of these would play perfectly well offline. The other one, I don't know. I mean, there is some online functionality in the PC version of No Man's Sky. Getting a sequel to Wii Sports.
I've been wondering when that was going to happen.
We'll be able to play Chambara.
We're also getting new
just
Psychonauts
not actually a sport and just a weird word for Japanese samurai movies.
I assume the drum game will come with a drum controller.
Dude.
It hasn't previously. Not a safe assumption.
Oh.
There's already one of those for the Switch.
Really?
Yes. The controller did not launch internationally.
Ah.
Yes, I am mad about this.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as there is one available, I suppose.
Yeah. Even attempting to get that import done has been problematic.
I mean, it's been sold out on Play Asia habitually forever.
Well, I mean, presumably, if that game is going to be available in America, the controller will be made available in America.
The game is already
had
available
one.
in America.
Oh, is it?
There are other games in that series that are already available. The controller still is not.
Weird. All right, Nintendo, what are you doing?
I think this is mostly
on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Clearly, they don't care about controllers.
I'm so excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Yes, that.
So very, very excited.
I did go back and start playing 2 again. It's been a while.
I am going to finish Cross and then I'm going to go on to 2 again.
Cross is great.
I know. I haven't finished it and I'm ashamed of myself, so I'm going to fix that.
I mean, maybe they'll release it on something other than the Wii U.
The weirdest thing to me was the Mario Kart track pack. Because, okay, so yeah, they're releasing this as DLC, and then, oh, hey, you're just going to get it for free as part of the expanded thing that lets you play Nintendo 64 games, which...
Yes, but I'm already not buying that, and this is still not going to make me buy that. Yeah. So their goal is to make more people buy that.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
But I'll just give them $25 for all of those tracks. But also, I would really like to give them $60 for Mario Kart 9.
I'm not sure I would, because 8's engine is pretty good.
I'm
the last
pretty
time
sure
generations, it was a little rough initially.
So there's an image floating around that Nintendo released, and it shows the mobile game for Mario Kart where 9 should be. So it makes me wonder, are they considering that 9?
Well, they are definitely considering those tracks real because those are getting some of those, apparently the good ones, are getting remastered for Mario Kart 8.
Yep.
The first one we're going to get is Tokyo, but I know we're going to get Paris because I saw tracks with the Eiffel Tower in it.
Are you sure that wasn't Tokyo Tower?
I was going to ask.
I am now not sure that wasn't Tokyo Tower. Is Tokyo Tower just a replication of the
It's the exact same building, just like orange.
That sounds like what I was looking at a picture of. But yes, we know that Tokyo is in. That should be fun.
The thing that I was shocked and happy about is that we're getting Klonoa games on the Switch.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but it looks like something I should know what it is.
It was a series of platformers on the PlayStation.
Yeah, wow, I haven't thought about Klonoa
They were super good. Like, they're really good
Time.
platformers.
Oh, yeah. Like, I absolutely remembered it as soon as I saw the character. But that is... that is not a game
Not something you think of on a regular basis.
I mean, it looks like my kind of platformer.
It probably is your kind of platformer.
They were great. I just haven't thought about them in a long time. 15,
Well, and
20 years.
And like the cool thing about this is like with video game sales being stupid and prices being stupid for used games right now, like Klonoa was one of the games that went up in price because I don't think it got a reprint on anything. Like I don't think it's been on any other
got
system.
a GBA release.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. Like the GBA version is like a stripped down version of the PlayStation version.
True, but it was the closest you could get for a long time.
Yeah, that's back in the era when mobile versions don't really count because they're a totally different game. Like I know those had climbed in price, and it was very hard to get used copies of Klonoa games.
So I am curious because it's definitely the meme now, like almost as much of a meme as Metroid Prime 4. But like, why does everyone expect an announcement or news from Silksong to come from Nintendo Directs?
I don't know. That one seems weird to me.
I thought you were going to talk about it, Breath of the Wild too.
Oh no. For some reason I feel like maybe it's probably because of the circles I keep, but people are way more excited about Silksong than Breath of the Wild 2.
That's probably that, yeah.
I mean, I recognize I am one of those people more excited about Silksong than basically anything else.
I mean, the Warriors game fake out at the beginning made everybody think they were looking at like a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer.
That was very obviously Fire Emblem anyway.
Yeah,
Why
that was
did people
very
think that?
obviously Fire
I don't know,
Emblem.
but as soon as it started playing, like I started seeing stuff coming across Twitter about, is this Breath of the Wild 2?
Oh, I saw that and was really hoping that it was going to be new Fire Emblem content.
I think a lot of people were
is sort of
disappointed in that way.
Kind of.
I mean,
I will
it's a Warriors
grant you-
game.
Yeah.
Age of Calamity means that I am more excited about the prospect of this Fire Emblem Warriors than I was about the previous one. Because Age of Calamity just takes the setting and goes, hey, what interesting things can we do here? What interesting characters can we make? Whereas the previous Fire Emblem Warriors was, hey, how much fan service can we throw into this one game? But wait, these 5 characters are all the same because it's the lead character from like 5 games.
I've heard the Persona Warriors game is really good too.
I enjoyed that one.
It may still be free on PSN if that's your thing. PS Plus.
I think that was
Or was it January?
That was
Oh, well.
January.
But yes, those games have been getting better, like significantly better.
Well,
And
for a really long time, it was basically like copy paste, swap out some assets kind of feeling,
yeah.
and now they're actually like truly unique games.
Is anyone here excited for Splatoon 3?
I would be way more excited if it were a story mode game.
I mean, it's
So
not,
one, that game has a story mode,
it's not PvP
rather
anymore.
significant one, and 2, I'm glad to see them expanding on that game's PvE mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that looked interesting.
That seems to be the focus for this one, actually. Not just more focus on, like, they are leading with the PvE and not the PvP in this version, it seems. I don't know. It could be fun. It looks like it's a squad shooter with interesting objectives. I'm not too upset about that.
I'm still confused that Triangle Strategy is actually the game's name.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the same problem they have with Octopath Traveler. Your
And-
codename needs to be worse if you don't intend to keep it.
and also Bravely Default.
That too, yes.
Although I don't actually think Bravely
That
Default's
wasn't
a
called that in
particularly
Japan, though.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. Well, I guess it kind of is still. The subtitle was different, although it keeps the same plot relevant significance.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have to change the subtitle because you need to get the dark pun in there. Also, you only find that out about the game when the game decides it's time for you to stop having fun with the game.
I mean, as a whole, I feel like it's one of the stronger Nintendo Directs they've had in a while.
Maybe in a while, but like I still don't think it's in my upper echelon of Nintendo Directs. I still think the best Direct is going to, like, maybe just because of how well they handled it, but the Smash reveal was the best.
Oh yeah, I tuned out of that. Anytime they've had Smash on a Nintendo Direct, I basically am going to watch it later and then skip ahead.
No, so the Smash reveal was so good because they they had a reasonable direct, and then they said, "Oh, and and one more thing." And they had already just talked about Splatoon content. And like it opens up with like pure white, and then you see some paint hit the ground, and then two squidlings attacking each other with Splatoon guns, and like then slowly stopping, and like the music starts swelling, and like it goes dark, and there's a fire like over their eyes, and then you see the fire coalesce into the smash symbol in the eyes of the squids. It was a great fake out. It felt super awesome. That's going to be my favorite direct moment for a while. But
So
also, yeah.
One thing that did come out of this one, and not directly out of the direct, but into some of the discussion afterwards, is Metroid Dread is getting a super hardcore mode, but also at the same time they're getting an easy mode.
Mm-hmm.
Actually excited about
Those
this.
are both mentioned in the direct. Yeah.
I'm way more interested in Metroid Dread now.
Yeah. I have been considering picking this game up for a while, and I know I am too lazy to get good enough at it to like get my way all the way through. So now like maybe it might actually be worth my time to pick it up.
I am a little. So what I would say is I'm a little worried on the way they implemented it, because it looks
The
like
hard mode. Hard mode seems like not
no,
worth anyone's time.
the easy mode, mode, because the easy mode seems to be like health packs regen more rather than, and I think it might have been better if it was enemies deal less damage. Enemies just every enemy in a zone that is relevant to you feels like it hits like a truck. Like by the time, but like I think once I got my first energy capsule, which basically doubles your life expectancy, your total amount of health, it was still like 5 hits to me being dead. So if I hadn't got that energy expansion, it would be like 3 hits and I'm dead. Enemies hit real hard in that game.
Yeah, I think I'll just have to see what it feels like.
Yeah, I think it's a very fun game though. I also suspect that there is an enemy that always one-shot kills you, but it gives you a quick time event to get out of. My hope is that rookie mode makes that quick time event a lot more generous.
I mean, you're not supposed to end up needing that quick time event.
Sure,
but yeah, it would be nice if they did.
It wound up being kind of a dual layered, oh, you're not good at this game, now you have to do a thing that's going to be even harder if you're not good at this game.
That's true.
Yeah, like they give you an opportunity to get out, but like those Emmy sections are very tense.
Yeah, yes, they are. I'm saying this as someone who has failed many of those quick time events and has died many times in this game. Like this is definitely a game that could use an easy mode. Like I've died a lot.
Yeah,
I don't think I've beat a single boss without multiple deaths.
I also think that might be true for me, although I think some of the mini bosses I might have beaten.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the large boss, the unique bosses, not the weird, well, spoilers. Thing that you fight multiple versions of that is strangely reminiscent of an established Metroid character.
Oh yeah. I only think I've fought in it twice, which probably tells me I'm not actually as close to the end of the game as I think I am. Because the game sure is trying to convince me I'm close to the end of it, and I'm like,
yeah, it's real hard
sure?
to know. Yeah, I definitely get the impression this is a game where you're going to reach a I've done the thing that was supposedly what I was trying to do, and yeah, no, that's not even remotely the end. I need to go back and finish that. I need to go back and finish a lot of games.
That's part of why I went back to Xenoblade 2. Just to replay that again so I could go on to the DLC, which I did not do the original time.
Ooh.
And yes, I know it's standalone, but I still wanted to do the whole game anyway.
Yeah, no, it's a fun play after finishing the main story. I enjoyed the DLC a lot.
So another thing that came up this week is Lost Ark launched, and I think the only one of us that is actively playing it right now is you, Ammo?
Yeah, I did get to play it a little bit today, not yesterday, like I was originally hoping.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I'm
like
glad it's working now because for a little bit there, it seemed like people were worried, am I going to get to play this weekend at all?
yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some concern that like we were going the way of New World and maybe setting up a scenario where like you either couldn't get onto servers or there were just too many servers and I don't know, like it seems like it's hard to get on a specific server,
Yeah.
but there are plenty of servers to play on, which is going to end up causing one of the problems with New World, where everybody's spread apart and eventually they'll want passes or something to merge things back together. But the actual launch of the free to play version was delayed by a couple days, I think, or just one day.
Well, it was supposed to release yesterday, and that was for the free to play, and that was delayed by a few hours, and then they brought it up, and then they brought it back down, and it just, I think they're still fighting some various issues, but the free to play was supposed to be yesterday.
Yeah, but I mean the folks who bought founders packs, and usually when you say founders pack, you're expecting like it's $100 to $200, but like this game
I mean, I usually
has
expect those to start at the price of a normal game.
Yeah.
these have like some pretty reasonable founders packs. I think there's one that's around $20 or something like that in there.
Yeah, they stopped selling the founders packs when the free to play went live, and they've replaced them with starter packs, which I think are slightly different. But the lowest level founders pack was like $15.
Okay. Yeah, like it didn't seem horrible, but basically anybody that had paid money got in, I don't know, earlier in
like
the week.
yeah, Tuesday or something like that, I think.
Like I am not playing this, but like I'm watching the entirety of my gaming Twitter playing this game. It is weird to be on the outside looking in, but also not having any desire to join.
Yeah, I've been having that experience pretty strongly this week too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Lots of friends and mutuals who are super excited about this, but I'm just happy to let them be happy.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, like I've
So-
gotten caught up in the zeitgeist more often than not. Like I remember going out to a GameStop and buying freaking Terra, and that was a horrible game.
I think Terra was a perfectly fine game to play for a while.
So what is this game?
It's a
It's
MMO
this sort of
eyes.
action RPG MMO thing, which is not quite a Diablo-like, but very close to one.
Like it's what if Diablo had a control scheme similar to League of Legend?
I
Yeah.
mean, doesn't it?
I was gonna say that. Like, it kind of does.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where that one's
Well,
going.
no, you have
Yeah.
you have to map Diablo to be like League of Legends with the WASD.
League of
or-
Legends
You
does-
can't
League
control
of
League of
Legends
Legends
does
with
not
WASD.
WASD.
Mhm.
Then what the hell am I thinking of?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking of HOTS. I don't know. Maybe.
There was that one weird game which has a name that I can't even remember anymore. It launched
No,
this
I
thing
meant
online
like the
and changed its
attacks.
name.
No, sorry, I mean the attacks are bound to WAS or QWE or whatever.
QWE, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just moving them down a row from Diablo.
Yeah.
yeah. I
not really
mean, it's
different.
true. I do all Diablo's attacks on my G600 mouse. So
I was gonna say it makes a difference when you have things mapped to a numpad on a mouse.
Mm.
yeah, that's how I play Diablo is with the numpad on the mouse.
Can you not rebind these?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think I played long enough to know. I know, like, I played long enough to know that I couldn't do the thing that I wanted to do, which was move an attack on the same key and bind W to force move forward, which is my preference for setting up ARPGs
Yes,
that are
same.
Diablo style ARPGs. But so, like, I know I couldn't do that, and I think I finally landed on the right click to attack and left click to move.
I don't even remember. I tried this game briefly, got as far as like the first, tutorial, fight thing it threw at me, and just hated the character design enough that I just noped out. And I know there's lots of different ones, but
Yeah, but not.
Yeah.
Not different enough.
But I had the same problem where I was like, hey, this has, from a control standpoint, this has everything that I get frustrated that Diablo doesn't have. But like, I mean, I don't necessarily think that Diablo is a tour de force of brilliant character design necessarily.
But you can have a male or female version of the same class.
Yeah.
This was a Diablo 3 thing, though.
It's true. It's true.
And the sorceress was
can
just
now.
the sorceress.
Yeah, it's so like that bothers me. And that bothers me, and it's present here, and I feel like it's like, is it
Devolving?
1992
Yeah.
again? Come on.
exactly. Like this is a lesson
But-
we have learned.
But that's
we
not
move
the
on?
part that drives me bonkers about it. Like,
There's some really weird boob stuff going on,
it's
and that
just,
bugs me.
the character art is just
It's the run, the
gross.
female character run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what that run animation was intending to do, but it's just it's laughable.
I mean, it makes the intro to Baywatch look, reasonable, downright reasonable and tasteful, as I've just dated myself. But it was just like,
And now I have the theme for Baywatch stuck in my head.
But I was just like, I feel icky playing this. And I'm annoyed because I actually really enjoyed what I played of the controls. It felt really good. And if I could port that entire thing over to some other game, I'd probably play those games a lot more. But
The only thing that, like, I tried to play with a controller, and most things felt fine, but you couldn't do everything on a controller without
nope.
like, you can, but like, you have to remember it is, hold right mouse button and right trigger plus X to access this thing or that thing.
That doesn't sound pleasant.
No, like it was not intuitive with a controller. Like, all of the basic attacks felt fine with a controller, but you still need to have a keyboard handy to do the rest of the inputs. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad everybody's enjoying it. They cracked 1 million players already, concurrent, which is more than New World was able to do. So go them. I hope Amazon Game Studios does a better job stewarding this game than they did with New World. That's all I'll say. Because right now it's predicted that nobody will be playing New World on March 20th
Oh, jeez.
if the rate of decline continues.
Wow.
I mean, didn't they have to shut off a Valentine's event recently?
Yes, they did. Because the Valentine costumes that you bought in the store were crashing the server.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Jeez.
I
yeah.
gotta say, I mean, obvious, easy joke, but the Valentine's Day Star Citizen cosmetics didn't crash the server.
Also going to say that while you worked on some games, I don't think either of them had Valentine's Day events that crashed the server either.
So, I do this thing where I fixate on a game, or more so, I fixate on a game company. And
Like you
last
with
week,
spiders.
I convinced a bunch of people to try Control again, and Grace has now beat Control. I've beat Control.
I haven't finished the DLC stuff yet. I basically just beat the main story of the game.
I think I'm about halfway through. I hit a real bad showstopper bug. That's just unfixable. And
How did you get around it?
I deleted the game and all of its save data off of my PS5 and re-downloaded it.
Oof.
And it synchronized the data and you were fine?
Oh, it didn't synchronize shit. I started the game over.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah.
That's real bad.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
No, it was bad. And it's one of those things where it's like it's so rare that in this, day and age, I run into a game where that happens. But like, I just sort of stopped playing it for a bit because it's like, this is
Yeah, I thought we had lost you when you encountered it.
but like, it was a testament to how compelling it was that I was like, all right, let's do this.
I mean, the story and the world are real interesting.
Well, it's there's a thing that there's a thing about it. I was recommending it and other things like it to another friend, and a thing occurred to me. If you like the Cthulhu mythos and don't like racism, it turns out a bunch of people agree with you and have been coming up with modern supernatural horror
Yup.
that is
Oh, yeah.
doing something similar without all of that baggage.
Yes,
Mhm.
And it's great.
it is.
Well, and like I've said this before, but like after I finish editing the podcast on Sunday, the first thing I do is listen to the latest SCP as read by Volgun that like acts out one of the SCPs. And like, so I've been in this mythos for a while, and Control just, I don't know. I mean, like, to say it wouldn't exist without SCPs is an inaccuracy, but like it borrows heavily from the tropes of that fiction genre.
It's clearly aware of it and aware of the genre. And while it is in a lot of ways doing its own thing, it is building on that. It's reinforcing it. In the same way that like, mind flayers or whatever are obviously drawing from Lovecraft, but doing their own spin on it. And the one reinforces the other.
The thing that really hooked me though is, okay, so Jesse Faden is a great character, but like this game is full of great characters. Like,
Yes.
it's not just the main character. Like, you have all these really interesting characters. Even the ones that kind of skeeve you out are like
Yep.
interesting characters.
Yeah. The story and the interactions are compelling, whether you want them to be or not sometimes. This game also had a sequence that was one of the most fun things I've played
Oh
in
my
a game
God, it
in a
was so
while.
good.
Like it wasn't particularly like horrifically challenging. It wasn't particularly like thought provoking or puzzling. It was just real fun. Like just a couple minutes of this is super fun. And yeah, and made even slightly more so because it's sort of like a thing you might have encountered before and been annoyed at or frustrated with, and then epic fun times. I don't even want to say anything about
Well,
remotely
okay,
what
so-
it is because it was just great.
So I will say like one thing about this sequence. Like, I don't know what your familiarity level is with Edgar Wright movies, but like one of the things that is common is there's usually a soundtrack and the action is synced to the soundtrack.
Mhm.
And like that's really hard to do in a game because you're playing through at various speeds, but like you're listening to a soundtrack and like things are kind of synchronizing to the soundtrack as you're going through.
It's one of those things. When I was studying movies, somebody made the comment that was like, if you are really into sound and especially music design in cinema, you need to be conversant in horror movies because they're, in a lot of ways, they're like the height of the interesting things you can do with that,
Yeah.
because they're just
Like, I mean, think about so many of the like classic, memorable sound effects and things in movies. So many of them come from horror, thriller, suspense movies, like the Psycho sting, the Jason sound from Friday the 13th.
Wow,
And-
or even just the John Carpenter music.
Yeah,
Like,
just like communicating things with sound, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And it's interesting to see that, like, when you have so much more control over it in a game, like Control is not a horror game in the way that I've seen horror games.
No, it's actually It surprised me in that I never found it scary. Sometimes a little gross or weird, but not scary in the way that I've been like seriously scared or creeped out by things.
Yeah, it's like it can be unnerving, and it's playing with like associations that you have with things, but it's not scary. It's not a horror game any more than like The Matrix is a horror movie.
Yeah. So given you first mentioned the whole, old old school bureaucratic setting of this, and then the, Cthulhuoid monstrosities, I have to ask, have any of you read any of the Laundry Files?
Yep,
Okay. Because it
similar
it sounds
energy.
more and more like if you're enjoying this, you might enjoy those. Like, it's a series of books by Charles Stross, the guy who invented the slod for D&D, and it's like, what if all of these horrifying things are real, and there's an underfunded bureaucracy in Britain that is responsible for dealing with them, and the main character works in IT for that bureaucracy.
I'm really glad that you mentioned this because it is ringing a bell of something that I read a while ago, and now I know there's more of it, and I'm gonna go find it.
There is a whole long series, and there is a second series set an indeterminate number of years in the future after events have occurred in which said Cthulhuid monstrosities now openly run Britain. Like, Nyarlathotep is the prime minister. And yeah, they're all very entertaining.
I think what I like so much about Control is like there's a detached scientific nature to it. Like, you're just kind of, these things exist and it's no different than like any other thing in the world, and you're just taking care of it.
Yep. And
But and
you're
again, that's one of the things the Laundry Files does too, is like that basically spells are just complex math. So as computers get more and more people are just like accidentally doing magic and, maybe summoning a demon or creating a weird fractal that gives people vampirism.
Yeah, it's got that what if so like one of the things I remember chatting with Kodra about this a while ago, where like Deus Ex as a game has this what if all conspiracy theories were true, like energy to it.
Yep.
This has what if every superstition were true?
Mm,
Like and or at least measurable.
right.
So maybe they're not true, but here's the reason people think they're true. And I always find that really I find that really interesting.
And that's what I
And
like about SCPs in general, is like a lot of times it is a thing that is adjacent to an urban legend or a myth that you've heard. And here is a scientific paper on how to, suppress this object and keep it safe.
Well, the other thing that I enjoy about Control is like, there's some weird stuff happening, but the main character, like, she has a mission. She's there to do a thing,
Hmm.
and like all of this other nonsense is happening around her, and she's like, "Yep, I'm gonna do that because I have to do that to do the thing I want to do. Yep, there's
Yeah.
other weird things happening. I guess I gotta do this now." Like, just continue.
It's almost Warrior of Light, like in the aspect like, I guess I have to do this thing now because it's in between me and the thing I need. I'm gonna figure this out somehow. I mean, like, I would love to get into it more, but like I don't want to spoil the experience for
No.
anyone, because like there's some really cool stuff going on, especially with the later things that you encounter. But
also incredibly great characters.
So here's the thing that's just blowing my freaking mind is how intricate the connections are between the games that Remedy has made. Like, this is basically a shared universe that is not explicit, other than Control gets pretty explicit about some of the connections. So like I have gone through in the last, I don't know, couple weeks and played Control and Alan Wake and Quantum Break. And the games that are not Control are only about 7-hour games, 8-hour games, something like that. And there are so many connections between these games. And apparently, this is the one that floored me, is Alan Wake's American Nightmare was a Xbox Live Arcade only game initially. And it was released, I think, episodically. And there is a song in that game that has backmasking in it. And if you listen to the backmasking, it basically sets up the events of Control. And that came out in 2011, and Control came out in 2019, and Quantum Break was in between them. Some of the connective
They just couldn't
tissue...
figure out what they wanted to do with that idea until, later.
Well, Microsoft... Okay, so I know what happened, more or less. Like, I'm not 100% sure this is the case, but... So Microsoft owns the rights to Quantum Break. So some of the connective tissue gets a little blurry because that's a property they don't own anymore. Quantum Break is one of the weirdest video game experiences I have ever had. I am absolutely certain that was greenlit by the Microsoft that really wanted to lean heavily into television on the Xbox One. Yes, it was absolutely greenlit by that era of Microsoft. Because when you're playing Quantum Break, you play for about an hour to 2 hours in an action sequence, and then you sit there and watch a 30-minute television show. And the actions that you took dictate what television show you watch. And then you'll pick up with another action sequence that leaves off where the televised segment stops. And then you'll play for another hour to 2 hours. And then you get another, 30-minute television sequence. So, I had to chunk this up in a certain way because, I needed to end at a specific way, or it would have been awkward for me to try and restart the next day.
Look, I mean, the only game that's allowed to do this to me is FF14. Otherwise, I'm not sure how I feel about that much cutscene in my game.
So do you think Microsoft originally intended this to be
I think it was going to
be a franchise.
I think it was going to get released as a transmedia thing and episodic.
Yeah.
So
sort of
maybe on
or
Defiance,
Defiance with its television show. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what was going to happen, this is me theorizing. I have no knowledge, but my theory would be say, here's 2 weeks. We're going to give you your action sequence and you have 2 weeks to play it. And then a new episode of the show would drop. And then that catches you up. And then they release another action sequence immediately following that. And then this would be a season-long event kind of thing. Because there's 4 chapters. There's not a television show at the end. Basically, once you've finished the 4th chapter, you're not going to get any more television show. The 5th chapter is entirely live action. But it also finishes out the game. It was really cool. It was weird. My brain wanted to reject it, but once I got used to it, it was really cool. Because it's not video game cutscenes. It's really something that could have easily aired on HBO, Netflix, something like that. It is really well acted. It is good, and it's got, the main antagonist in the show. Well, the 2 main antagonists in the show is the dude who plays Littlefinger and Zavala, Aidan Gillen, and I'm drawing a blank on what Zavala's name is. Lance Reddick.
Oh, Lance Reddick? Yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of the main antagonists. The same actress who plays Jessie Faden appears in this game as an amazing character. And after playing Quantum Break, that is the reason why Control existed with her as the main protagonist, because she was the standout character in Quantum Break. The best acted character, hands down. But yeah, so it's just, I've been going down this rabbit hole, and now I'm super interested in Alan Wake 2. even though I still don't love the gameplay of burning something with a flashlight, then shooting it. So another sort of related topic is I've been on this single player kick, and after finishing Quantum Break, I was kind of looking for something else to do. So I picked up and attempted to play the 2017 Arcane Prey, and I had bounced a couple times on this game, and I am bouncing again, and I'm not exactly sure. Like Tam and I were having a conversation about this earlier today, and Prey is basically BioShock, but without an interesting environment and without interesting characters.
No.
Oh,
And like, I think there's something sort of interesting going on, but like, you're roaming around a space station and everyone's dead, other than a couple of voices that you're talking to over the intercom system. And those characters aren't fleshed out enough to really be interesting yet. But like, what made BioShock work for me is the mythology of the setting was really interesting, but also all the wackadoo enemies that you encountered were really interesting too. Like, there was weird stuff going on with the splicers and, you know, Big Daddy and the little sisters, and like what
Yeah.
you were fighting was interesting.
Yeah, the stuff that you're dealing with was characterful.
Right. Like, that was a whole other character. Like, even though you're just killing them, like, you could sit there and listen to entire conversations happening between them that were giving you little bits of information about the mythology of that world. And in Prey, it is a very BioShock type game, but like, you're fighting these aliens that don't have, I mean, they're basically kind of Cthulhu-ish aliens that, like, they don't even regard you as anything, and they don't have speech, and they don't have anything going on other than like just they're attacking you. So there's really nothing interesting going on with the enemies, and everyone's dead. So the only story that's really happening is through you reading emails on systems and fumbling around trying to find key cards. And
okay. This actually sounds more to me like System Shock than BioShock.
Hey, people do compare it a lot to System Shock, but System Shock had a lot more character too.
I mean, System
System-
Shock 2, you had Shodan, and she was enough character for everything.
Right.
Portal is the same. Portal
Like-
is the same way. Like Portal
There is one
gets by
character.
on the strength of one character.
Right. And
But like as far as enemies, like System Shock 2, there's zombies and little psychic monkeys, and I think that's it.
yeah, I mean, but like, your interaction with Shodan was really interesting.
Yes.
And so basically there's 3 voices in your head, not really in your head, but like wanting you to do things, but none of them are terribly interesting.
No.
And the other problem that it has going on is like, it wants to be an arcane game where we're going to give you a lot of ways to solve these problems. But because of the constraints that you're on a spaceship and you have to get key cards and stuff like that, it ends up feeling like, well, there's really just the one path, but like, it's not messaged well to you, because you can go and do anything you want, but you can't really do anything you want. So like, it's really, I'm going to go find a key card, or I'm going to fumble around in a bunch of, you know, air conditioning ducts until I figure out how to get into the area. So I really wanted to like this game because it's arcane. I like arcane games, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't work in the same way that like Dishonored worked. And like, maybe one of our listeners is going to tell me that like I'm completely missing the point, and I welcome that, because if I have overlooked something that is interesting going on, please tell me, and I will maybe pick it up again and try and get going. But like, and it may just be that I came from such dynamic narrative experiences of the last several games that I've played that this just seems slow and trotting. But whatever the case, I think I'm putting down Prey yet again. So, a topic that's been on here for a few weeks, Kodra, you've been playing Psychonauts 1.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get So I want to get into Psychonauts 2. It is a very much continuation of Psychonauts 1. And I was like, well, let me just see what Psychonauts 1 is like. And like, it's been a while since I've played that game all the way through, and I am still playing it, and then I'm going to play Rhombus of Ruin. But mostly I was just kind of surprised how much Psychonauts 1 holds up as a game after like this much time. And I think a lot of it is how effectively it brings me back to my youth in a summer camp. It takes a lot of care to make this summer camp feel like a very normal summer camp where the kids just happen to be learning how to be psychics.
Yes. Blowing up squirrels with their minds.
But like, there's the weird kid, there's tons of like furtive relationships and drama that like all of these kids think is a really important deal, where you're just there to learn how to be the best psychic possible because you need to escape your father. Like, you have severe daddy issues that you need to overcome, and your way of doing that is to become the best psychic possible. Like, all of the characters in that game, for as like cartoonish of a representation they are, feel familiar.
Yeah.
And I guess it feels like a game that is more grounded in a environment I am familiar with than a ton of other games. And as a result, I connect to it very deeply.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, I mean, I still think that a remaster of the original Psychonauts would be an excellent thing, but really all it needs is, you know, improve the graphics to modern resolution and tighten up the controls.
Yeah,
That's really
I don't hate the controls too much. There's a couple of areas that there's a couple of interactions where you're like trying to like precision land on a thing that could be awkward, but most of the places where I'm trying to do that, I find there's some amount of stickiness there where like your character gets close enough and then lands. But yeah, I'm playing through it. I'm having a lot of fun, and I was surprised how effective this game was, and like how affecting the game is to me still.
I have to fess up, I have never played Psychonauts, and I've always wanted to, but like, I think I'm going to play it on the Xbox because
I mean, that's the logical place.
I've heard like I have it. I mean, like, I've had it in my account forever.
I'm pretty sure everybody owns Psychonauts at this point. Even if you don't think you own it, you probably do.
Yeah, like, and I've heard they've made updates to make controllability on, you know, that platform really smooth. So it's on my list of things that I want to revisit now that I have done the shocking thing and hooked up consoles in the living room, which I realize is how most people do it, but I didn't for years. I have moved my Xbox and my PlayStation to the living room and am now playing those consoles there.
Yeah, it's definitely a game meant to be played with a controller.
Yeah, like I think it will be a smooth experience on that platform, and you know, I think they even do some stuff to like kind of upscale the image. So, but I do like, the thing is I want to play Psychonauts 2, but I want to have played the first one first.
Yeah, you really do need to. Like, it's not required in that nothing entirely within Psychonauts 2 would, like, things will make sense, but like it comes directly from the original game, and like relationships that you formed in that original game are very important in Psychonauts 2. So, yeah.
Okay, let's dive into this one. Tam, I think this is your topic. In-game events.
Oh, yeah. So we've talked about MMOs and how in a lot of places MMOs have gotten a little frustrating, because when you see another player, it's no longer this like neat novel experience. And like most of the time, it's not actually a positive one. Like, at best, it's neutral. Because you've got games like, you know, games like WoW. Like, if I'm running around in WoW, for example, not that I've done that in a while, but were I to run around in WoW, if any time I see another player, the times when I'm happy to see another player are tiny. Most of the time I'm like, uh-oh, is this person going to mess up what I'm doing?
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a thing. I spent a while like trying to think about like how do we get there? Like what happened that it used to be great to run into other players. It was novel, it was interesting, it was exciting, and then it wasn't.
I mean, one of those words is important. It's not novel anymore and hasn't been for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it's part of it is just the novelty is far worn off.
Yeah, all games are online games now.
Yeah.
I mean, also,
Well, and to
we
be fair, all
realized-
games are RPGs now.
Also,
Yeah.
we realized that a lot of people on the internet are people that we don't want anything to do with.
But it's been interesting to see like the MMO space trying to recapture what does it take to make you want to run into other people and have that be a good experience. And one of the ones that I've and you know there legitimately aren't a lot of cases where that's true. But one of the ones that I've seen are in-game events where it's like, okay, there is a thing that is happening on the server independent of how many players, that's like usually not activated by a player except maybe by proximity. And there's a like, hey, how many people are you going to get to do this thing?
Yeah, I mean,
and just how effective that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I've been playing Guild Wars 2 again the past couple of months, and as a general rule, like, I don't want to be on an empty map in Guild Wars 2. I want to be on the map that all the other players are on, because there's events happening and meta events and things that you need multiple people to actually, succeed at. And then when you succeed at one of those events, everybody gets rewards. Like that's the other big thing is no competition for resources.
Yeah. Have I talked about Star Citizen Xenothreat on here yet?
I mean, like, this is like the second time they ran it, right?
Yes.
I don't think you've talked about it on the podcast before.
All right. So yeah, like Guild Wars 2 is a great example. Star Citizen, the game of I kind of hope I never see a random player.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's not a big deal because you probably won't.
That you said about Sea of Thieves.
Yes. I'm aware that there's some bad luck hacking that occurs sometimes. And it is a thing that I'm continuing to watch in the development because I think that that's an issue. Is I'm not excited to see other players around, except now I know they can do it and make it cool. So there's an event that's going on right now, that's been going on for the last week. That's their primary PvE event. Because I haven't really been playing enough to see the various events that they put together, but they've put together I've seen the like PvP jump town. Are you going to create a drug commune, or are you going to play the event the way they would like to have you play it, but not actually incentivized it well enough and fight everybody else? Whoops.
Turns out players would rather just make the drug commune.
Well, I mean, people make the drug commune until they either get bored of it or until there are too many people to make a decent profit off of it, and then comes the violence, which is sort of whatever. Like, I think it's an interesting PvP event. People like it as a PvP event. I don't actually care about PvP events, so I'm pretty neutral about it. But this one is explicitly PvE. You are not able to side with the opposing faction, which is good. And the disincentives for trying to bother people who are trying to do the PvE event are extreme. And so, it's heavily disincentivized to have any kind of PvP. And it's this big PvE event where it's got the same level of complexity as a Guild Wars, like one of the higher tier Guild Wars 2 meta events, which is really neat to see. And it's really exciting when you see other players, especially if they roll up unexpected, because they're probably going to help you out in some way that is hard for you because you can't be everywhere at once. And it was really interesting. It's been really interesting to me to see how they take this game where at the very best I'm neutrally wary when I see another blip on my radar that's a player that I'm not expecting, and have me be like, sweet, there's a whole bunch of players that I don't know all rolling out around here. And also watching like the player zeitgeist eliminate griefers at hilarious speed. Because like somebody has tried to roll in and grief the event, and they get about one shot off, which is not enough to really harm anybody, and then they go red. But this is a fleet battle. Part of this is a fleet battle. So now you just went hostile. You just got flagged as hostile in a high-speed fleet battle with like 20
People
to
aren't
40
going to be
other
looking
people.
before they shoot.
The what?
People aren't going to be looking before they shoot, is what you're saying.
Yeah, people are not looking before they shoot. And I watched somebody, especially with they have a new mechanic in where if you hit somebody, if you dealt damage to somebody, you would get you could get reported and flagged as hostile. Now if you lock a missile on someone, that flags you as hostile, which is a nice touch because then you don't get like a first shot advantage. But it means that there's some people who locked a missile on another player and then are just instantly vaporized without it even being a thing. It's like, no, you can't really grief this event. But it does the same thing. There's a thing with these events that like Rift did it, and Final Fantasy 14 does it with Fates. Guild Wars 2 does it, where your rewards are based on your participation level. And sometimes it's really hard to get that participation level in a crowded area, which always to me feels like it drives that now I'm annoyed that there are too many other players around thing. The way it's done here is as progress is made of any kind, it takes up a little timer and people get rewarded as the timer ticks. Like every time the timer completes, you get a certain amount of money. And it's such a great way of doing it. The longer you're around, the more you make. And you don't have to be good or know the tricks to getting your, contribution score up to make a decent amount from it. So yeah, it's neat to see. I really enjoy seeing ways in which games make me happy to randomly see other players, because I feel like that's super rare.
I feel like Destiny also does a pretty good job of this.
Yeah, Destiny was the other one that I was thinking of, and Destiny manages to pull it off largely on the back of it's pretty hard to do anything to actually grief another player.
Yep. Yeah, like you can't really have much impact on another player.
Yeah, like functionally the only way that you can interface with another player is through helping them.
Yeah, and it always feels like there's certain rules to how to make this work, and one is to lower the friction to as low as humanly possible, to where basically whatever you're doing doesn't actually require grouping, and it just automatically makes your shared progress work together. Because like that was one of the systems that I always liked in Rift, was how easy it was to drop in and out of groups in that game. The groups would just kind of organically form as you're out doing something. Because like you could even set it to auto group in anybody that's in the same vicinity as you, and auto leave when you're no longer in the range of the person. And that was like more cumbersome than I would have liked it to work. But so the first thing is like the friction needs to be low, and the second thing is probably that whatever you're doing needs to be universally beneficial for both players.
Yeah.
And like really, if those two things exist, I think other players in the world is a positive thing. But
I think the other big thing is events need to be designed so that it's not possible for a player to either deliberately or accidentally make the event more difficult for everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, and to some extent, like that is the one negative aspect of Destiny is there are a lot of times you really need to convert the event, the public event, into a heroic public event, and it is so easy for some random person, bluebies as the community calls them, to roll up and screw it up.
Yeah, if they don't know that this thing needs to happen before this thing, they just
Yeah.
kill the obvious target and
Yeah,
well,
it's you do the
yeah.
thing that the event is telling you to is messaging that you should do, but screw it up for everybody randomly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that feels bad.
Yeah, and the
I'm
thing
just going to
is
say
like
that is not good game design.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
exactly.
agree.
no, it's like it should be better about messaging how you open a heroic event. Like, because the thing is, I think in their heads they're like, we want this to be a cool secret. But
Yeah,
like
but-
after week 1, it's no longer a cool secret. Just put a UI in that explains like if you get the bar to here, you get more prizes.
Yeah, and it's bad enough when that happens because players figured out that the most efficient way to do the event is not something the designers thought of, but something like that where it's like this is specifically how they set it up that you're supposed to do this event, and then just don't tell people. That's it's bad.
Good interesting secrets are very hard to do in MMOs, and honestly,
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure it's worth the effort, and B, if you are going to do it, it should be one of those like things you discover on your own, not
Yeah.
something you try to do in a group.
Yeah, like Secret World. Secret World did it reasonably well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I can remember being universally frustrating with Destiny was back when Mars still exists and trying to do the event on Mars, and I don't remember what the name of it, what it was called. Escalation Protocol.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking Deadlock Protocol, but that's a different thing. Isn't it?
yeah, so the problem with that one is you need at least 6 players to do it, but not everyone that's on the planet. So like Destiny does this thing where it greatly limits the total number of people on a destination. But because of that, it was very common that you ended up with like only 3 people that wanted to do Escalation Protocol. And as a result, people would keep trying to start it and only progress past the first phase and then die on the second phase. And it would be a frustrating evening. So like when you actually got 6 people that wanted to do Escalation Protocol, because it's all random matched by how you land on the planet, like I can remember like we would stay there for a couple hours doing Escalation Protocol just because it was a special thing that we actually had a group going, and it wasn't something that you could queue for an entire team of because you can only have 3 people in a party. So like that whole situation was frustrating. But then they fixed it with Sorrow's Harbor, where here's a destination where the only thing to do here is do the event.
Yeah. If you're not doing the event, why are you even here?
Yeah, like I mean, there's no point in doing it. You're not in the. It's only the event all the time. But yeah, I mean, like the one that always screws everything up is nodes that are out in the world and rare spawn boxes of some sort. And like that's what kills it. That's what kills the sense of cooperation because like, okay, I'm fighting a thing. Somebody else rolling up to help me fight the thing. How I interpret that is entirely related to whether or not I was fighting on top of a resource I wanted. Because chances are that person's going to steal the thing that I was trying to clear towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like I really like the games that have resources that are non-competitive.
Yeah. And there's a whole other, difficulty there where if you have non-competitive resources, your game economy has all kinds of weird offshoots.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But like it's not like WoW has the healthiest, gold economy, and quite frankly, games with player unique resourcing work just as well.
I was actually going to point out that WoW has shared nodes, but that's a fairly recent innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Shared nodes
not
within
even
a certain
entirely true.
time. Yeah, like you have to. I don't know. I don't remember what the timer is, but you have to have started harvesting it within a certain amount of time in
Yeah.
order to get it. It is short enough to where if there is a node that you are standing on and you are fighting something that is non-trivial and somebody comes up and harvests the node, it is not unlikely that the node will despawn before you finish the fight.
And yeah, I keep finding myself looking for what is that game that I can play where I can be running around on my own, doing stuff at my own pace, but I run into another player and I'm excited about that.
The conversation about resource nodes makes me miss Glitch when you farming something and a stranger farming it at the same time gives you both more resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's like
It-
you find a rare resource and you try to get a bunch of other people to come get it with you so that everybody gets more.
Yeah. There's a zone in Guild Wars 2 that it's one of the season 4 zones that sort of implemented that with that zone, that with the map currency. It's Istan, and the map currency, you get it off of meteorite impacts. And when you get to the meteorite, you have a harvesting tool, and one of the upgrades you can get for the tool marks it on the map. And the more people mark the impact point, the better the rewards. So you actively want to get as many people to come harvest this thing with you as possible.
Well,
Which is why it
like,
marks it on the map.
there's a lot of screwball things that Landmark did, but like one of the coolest things that it did that I wish someone would steal is you could have a harvesting party. And you could have like 4 people in a party, and so long as you stay within a pretty generous range of each other, every time one of you harvests anything, everyone gets the resources.
That's
So
cool.
you would just go like, okay, we're gonna go to this zone and we're gonna have a harvest party because we all need resources to build stuff for. So, if it's something non-trivial, harvest it and we'll all get it. So like, I found some silver, sweet, everybody gets some silver. I found some ruby, okay, sweet, everybody gets some ruby. And it turned the prep time for crafting into a really cool social event because like it was just universally good. Like, it takes forever to harvest like an inventory full of material. Why not everybody go do this and then everybody take a trip back to the smelter and you can hang out and talk while it's going on? And
Yeah,
I wish someone would take that idea.
One of the things that I've enjoyed is getting a couple of people together and going mining in Star Citizen because it's that same kind of shared. Like it's much more manual. I have to actually split the things, and it'd be better if it split more normally. But it's really fun to just be the hey, we're gonna go out and be a harvesting party, and I'd like better support for that kind of thing. That sounds really
Well,
cool.
and New World could have done that, and it would have been really interesting because New World put high end resources in terribly dangerous places. But only one person got to harvest the thing. Like, so
Terrible.
it felt like, okay, I'm going to go spend my time fighting this stuff, but like only one person is going to benefit from it. So, had there been some default, like everybody in the party gets a share of what was harvested, it would have felt so much better because like you could have just rolled up with a party and hunted in the area where these rare nodes spawned because it takes a full party, but that just wasn't a thing. Like everybody was like, fastest fingers wins.
Plus it would unlock some really cool alternative stuff. Like whenever you see a resource node in a dungeon, it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Yep.
We put in a thing here exclusively for creating group drama.
Yep.
Whereas if that were shared, you could build entire encounters around that. And that'd be cool.
I had 2 thoughts here. One was bronze nodes in the dead mine. 2 is the random, completely unnecessary mithril nodes in some fractals.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the latter doesn't create, strife.
Yeah.
I assume if it appears in a fractal, everybody gets a chance at it since that's
Yep.
just the way that it works.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just that nobody cares about mithril and fractals.
I mean, I need a lot of mithril, but
That's fair. I do
I don't
too.
care about mithril that
but
much.
it's super cheap.
The stuff's everywhere.
Okay. And on that note, we're probably over. So, any final thoughts about anything?
Vampire Survivors is weirdly compelling.
It is. I griefed
If I talk
Ash in
about
a
it more than
non-griefing
that,
way.
it's going to take too long. So next time, maybe.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed the
Horizon
show.
Forbidden West is this coming Friday.
Yep.
Goodbye, life.
Yay.
Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.